Como me gustan la gente de YouTube. What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Don't worry, this isn't a Spanish tutorial all of a sudden. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to the third video of the installment on how to make this thing. Pretty cool little animated menu. In the last video, we talked about HTML. We talked about the DOM, the document object model, and if you remember, we discussed what this tree means. Now we're gonna put what we discussed into action, and we're gonna create our HTML structure. What I'm using right now is called a code editor or a text editor. There's a fancier version of this software. It's called an IDE. You don't really need that for this example. You just need a basic text editor such as Sublime Text. This is the one I'm using. As you can see, I'm a bad boy. I don't have it registered, but hopefully YouTube can help me change that. Anyways, if you guys like the software and you plan on coding with it a lot, be cool people. Try to at least donate and help out the developers. There's a lot of guys and ladies out there that sink a lot of time and hours and do a lot of Googling and bang their heads on the keyboard really hard so that they can make these things for you guys. And yeah, show them some love if you end up actually using it and it helps you out in school for a course or for homework or for a personal project, you know? Let them know you care. Anyways, guys, we're gonna get started. The structure of our project, what we have here in the view of the text editor, is we have the parent folder, jQuery nav plugin. Now, for the purposes of this example, I like to name the folder here because this is going to be a very basic front-end example. All the code is basically going to be in, remember those three things we talked about? It can be in 3 files, it can be in 1 file. I like to keep it in 3 files to separate the concerns, and I know I'm looking at one topic of the little application, of the little code, and yeah, that helps me understand it better. But anyways, the one we're going to focus on right now today is HTML. Now, here we go, guys. Whoa. That's basically a little shortcut keyboard command, one of the perks that comes with Sublime Text. If you guys like that, then you should totally use Sublime Text. Anyways, here, this thing, the doc type, this, it's letting the browser know, hey, this is an HTML document. So you better get your HTML rendering engine ready, because that's what you're gonna need to read this document, to parse it. Here we have the root of our structure of our document. Remember, guys, remember the HTML. See here, this is the element. It's the root, HTML. See how everything is inside of it? Because it's at the root. It's the outermost. It's the parent. Here we have other elements that live within it. I'm just going to space this out so it's easier to see. See, we have the head, we have the body, and inside the head you can have another element. Inside the body you can have another element. Let's put an H1 in there for now. Say hello world. And in here we're going to say, what is this? jQuery nav plugin. Awesome, guys. Okay. We're just going to save that. Alright, now once you save that, if you're on Windows or Mac, let's say you save this file to this folder to your desktop, what you can do is you can drag that folder over and drop it into the bar here, and you'll get this address. But otherwise, just find the address in your file explorer and put it into the browser. Chrome uses its convention with here the file and the slashes, and it allows you to tap into your local directory, your local computer, so you get access files that are saved there. Here, grabbing that index file, we're gonna refresh after we've saved it, and as you can see here, guys, boom, we got some HTML. We got hello world. Okay, and this is expressed with this markup here. HTML is also referred to as markup. It's the way you express content on the web. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna define the first within the body. This is gonna be like the root of our whole project here. It's gonna be the root, is the body. So in here we're gonna start off by defining the main element. Now this element elements in general, all elements, can have attributes. Attributes are little characteristics about that element that make that have an impact on it, you know, that lets you know something about it. It gives you more information about it. So the attribute we're going to use here on the outermost main element is just to let us know is the main element that's housing everything. We're going to call this main as well. What is a class? Glad you asked, guys. A class is a way for us to provide it's an attribute that gives us a particular piece of information about this element. What does this attribute tell us? It tells us that this element is of the class main. Now, the namespace main lets us know that, okay, there's classes. Okay, so a class, there's when you go to school, you have a bunch of classes. You learn about history, you learn about math, you learn about programming, hopefully. You learn about art, and classes come in bundles and groups. So this the class could be a navigation item, let's say, hypothetically speaking. This could be a navigation item, this could be a navigation item, this could be a navigation item, this could be see how they have similar behavior? We can identify that with a class name. We can say, hey, all these things are related in this way, and therefore have this class namespace. Okay, so here we're going to start off with main. Within main, we're going to define a div element. This element is going to have its own class of page. Okay, now based on this information, what do you think this element does, guys? What do you think the purpose of this element is based on some of the cues we have here? Think about it. I'll give you a second to think. If you guessed ice cream, you're wrong. But this div is kind of like, hey, we're saying this is a division of the page where we don't know what it is, we're not sure, but generally speaking, we know it's something, it's a thing. So we're gonna call it a div for now. HTML5 is neat in that it gives you a bunch of different names for elements, and the names are described to be semantic. Semantics means how you express the thing you're describing. So your pages, if it makes more sense for you to use divs, go ahead and use divs. If it makes more sense for you to say, hey, this is a div, but I'm going to remind myself that it has this related functionality by using a class attribute, you can go ahead and do that. But HTML5 is cool in a way because it lets you say, hey, maybe I want an article, and it gives you access to other elements, so you don't necessarily have to fall back on using divs with classes, you know. That's the flexibility in HTML. That's what makes it cool. So let's keep going. All right, inside the page, what are we gonna have? We're gonna have this section here that's gonna hold the navigation, and this section here that's gonna have some text and let us know, hey, this is what this little piece of code does. All right, so here this section is gonna be a header section because it's at the top. You know, head first, then the body, hopefully, unless you're a mutant. Let's hope not. So the header, what's the header gonna have in it? Okay, the header is gonna have in it the navigation. Okay, now in this case, div, the main navigation just happens to be div for now. That's all we need to know. But we have something new here. We have a different attribute. Now we learned that class lets us describe elements, but it's unique in that it lets us describe multiple elements that have the same functionality. For example, maybe I might have another page down here, you know? There's a possibility for that. If I could type, there's a possibility for that, you know? There could be multiple pages on this page based on my definition of what that is, you know? But here we have my definition of the main navigation, which uses an ID. This attribute is different from the class attribute in that ID is unique. Okay, that's a rule of thumb that should be followed. It can be broken. You could put two of the same ID elements in the page, and you could target both of them and code for both of them, but it's bad practice. Typically we want one unique ID. That's what makes the ID attribute special, or else it'd just be the same as the class. And we want that distinction. So this is the main navigation. This and only this. Let's continue. For the next element, we're gonna have this section here, this area of text that lets us know, it describes this code. So here we're gonna use literally, quite literally, and this is what I mean about the semantics of HTML5, a section element. And inside this section element, we're gonna have another type of HTML5 element known as an aside. It's a thing that's, at the end of the day, all of these are kind of like div in the way that you can, it's up to interpretation. A section could mean something different to you as it could mean to the next person, but here in my case the aside is going to be this area, this shout out area that displays some information. So the aside, I'm going to give it a class name just to make it a little more semantic, a little more understandable. It's going to be called Jumbo. Like, hey, like, yo, billboard, Jumbo, check it out. And in here we're going to put title element, tab, toggle, nav. Alright, we have that information inside that element, you know, that content. We're gonna have a special element in HR that renders this cool little line here, this separation. And a P tag. P is short for paragraph, okay? And H here is short for heading. I'm not sure what HR is short for. Props to anybody who could put that in the comment section below. But here in the P tag is paragraph, so we're gonna have a paragraph with some text that describes what a tab toggle nav is. So we're gonna say a jQuery plugin. Don't worry guys, we're not at the JavaScript part yet, but you will learn what jQuery is. For those of you that are just too eager, squirming in your chairs. Alright. jQuery plugin for the main navigation element. Awesome. That's it, guys. Believe it or not, that describes the entire page. Pretty much. Let me see here. Oh, okay. With the exception of let me see if you guys can figure out if this project is made up of 3 technologies, 3 components. Those 3 things are probably going to want to talk to each other somehow, right? And that's a big important concept that I'm glad I just remembered right now, because there's a big difference between the example you guys are seeing here and what's in here, okay? See, CodePen does some pretty cool magic, and basically what CodePen does that's cool that you guys might have not noticed is that it abstracts away the see how it updates in real time. Besides updating in real time, you could edit this and, you know, make your changes. It abstracts away the certain parts of the web page that you would have to manually design, such as the title here. Have you noticed we have a title here, but the title isn't here, let alone the whole head? That's because CodePen is abstracting that away. They're doing the heavy work, the heavy lifting of connecting all these things together for you. And as a matter of fact, if you were to click these little options here, this little cogwheel, you can see that you can have access to different settings, which is basically a way of them shoving certain options inside of this head tag for you. So if you don't see that in here, don't freak out. Just understand that that's why you're not seeing, that's why these examples look different. That's why if you were to download the code from GitHub, you'd notice extra things that aren't in here, okay? But yeah, that concludes our HTML, guys. Now we're gonna just save that up, refresh the page, and boom, looking pretty plain if you ask me. Pretty Charlie Chaplin, huh? Yep. Remember guys, we're missing 2 other components to this web page that makes it do all the other cool stuff. And for now we just have the structure, but that's okay because life is all about baby steps. And the next step, we're gonna cover how to make this thing look pretty. Okay, we're gonna cover how to make it look presentable, and we're gonna even start setting up definitions for certain things that we want to happen, such as like some transitions, some effects, all that cool dynamic stuff. But for now, the main concept that you guys need to know is that at the end of the day, when you strip away all the pretty paint and the different layers of these fancy web applications, including this one that we're using here, at the end of the day, it's just this. It's HTML. This guaranteed to be there. Okay? Alright guys, thank you for watching. If you like, subscribe, ding the bell if you want to find out about the next tutorial. And yeah, thank you guys for your attention. I appreciate you guys learning this and doing your best to level up your skills, and keep at it. In the next video, we're gonna cover how to style this, how to make it look pretty, and stay tuned for more. See you.